When stars cry for help, the signal reached Earth on an ordinary Tuesday, piercing through subspace channels that had been silent for decades. It wasn't elegant or complex, just three simple words repeated in over 47 known galactic languages and thousands more unknown ones. Help us. Burning. Captain Alina Rice was overseeing routine drills aboard the UES Dauntless when the transmission burst through every communication system simultaneously, overriding protocols and securities with an urgency that set off alarms across the ship. Her officers froze at their stations, eyes wide as the message repeated itself, each iteration more desperate than the last. Source, she demanded, already moving toward the navigational display. Deep space, Captain. Sector 87 Delta. It's coming from the Veiled Nebula. Lieutenant Park replied, fingers flying across the console. We're not the only ones receiving it. The signal's broadcasting across all known frequencies. Every species with communication technology can hear this. Alina's jaw tightened. The Veiled Nebula lay far beyond human territory, past even the carefully negotiated buffer zones between Earth and the older galactic civilizations. It was uncharted, untamed, precisely the kind of region Earth's ships were explicitly forbidden from entering under the galactic accords that had granted humanity membership in the interstellar community just 15 years ago. Get me UN Space Command. Now. Within hours, humanity's representatives sat amongst the towering aliens, holographic entities, and gaseous life forms that comprised the Galactic Council. The council chamber on Alpha Centauri hummed with tension as species that rarely agreed on anything found themselves united in cautious restraint. The signal originates from an unregistered system. The Mezeran delegate announced, its crystalline form refracting light in patterns that conveyed dismay. We have no obligation to respond to unverified distress calls from non-member worlds. The accords are clear. Added Ambassador Threll of the Volseri sovereignty. Interference in unknown conflicts risks escalation. We must maintain neutrality until proper assessment can be conducted. Alina, standing behind Earth's ambassador as his military advisor, fought to keep her expression neutral. These were the same arguments she'd heard for 15 years. Careful, measured responses that prioritized stability over action. The kind of diplomatic patience that had nearly cost humanity its homeworld during the resource wars before they'd achieved faster-than-light travel. With respect, Earth's ambassador began. The signal's encryption carries markers consistent with genuine distress protocols. Something is happening in that system. And something is always happening somewhere. Ambassador Chen interrupted the cadre representative, 20 eyes blinking asynchronously. The galaxy is vast and violent. We cannot respond to every cry in the dark. The debate continued for hours. Plans were proposed for observation missions, assessment committees, diplomatic inquiries, all requiring weeks or months to implement. Meanwhile, the signal continued, growing weaker with each passing hour. Alina slipped away during a recess, activating her secure communicator once she was alone in the station's observation deck. Admiral Kostova, the Council won't act. Not in time. The holographic figure of Earth's fleet admiral nodded grimly. I suspected as much. What's your assessment, Captain? Alina gazed out at the stars, where somewhere, someone was pleading for help as their world burned. If it were Earth sending that signal, she said quietly, I'd want someone to come. 12 hours later, the UES Dauntless led a battle group of 7 Earth vessels toward the Veiled Nebula, breaking at least 4 clauses of the Galactic Accords. The official report logged with Space Command classified their mission as an extended training exercise. If they succeeded, there would be apologies and reparations. If they failed, well, no one would be left to court-martial. Captain, we're approaching the nebula boundary. Lieutenant Commander Okafor reported. Sensors are detecting significant energy discharges consistent with weapons fire. Drop us out of FTL. Defensive Formation Delta. All hands to battle stations. The human ships emerged into chaos. Before them hung a small blue-green planet, its atmosphere streaked with fire where orbital defenses were failing against a swarm of obsidian vessels. The attackers resembled nothing in Earth's xenobiological database, asymmetrical constructs that seemed to bend light around them, leaving afterimages that disoriented sensors and human eyes alike. Those ships, Elena breathed. They're feeding on the planet's energy signatures. Science Officer Chen leaned forward, his face pale in the glow of his instruments. Captain, they're extracting something from the planetary core. Thermal readings suggest they're harvesting the planet's magnetic field. At this rate, the world will be uninhabitable within days. Hail the defenders. Tell them Earth has responded to their call. The view screen flickered, revealing a humanoid being with iridescent skin that shifted between blues and greens. Exhaustion lined its face, but hope flared in eyes with vertical pupils. I am Valoran of the Ardari Collective, it said in halting standard. You came. So many heard our cry, yet only you answered. Commander Elena Reyes of Earth, we received your distress signal. Who are they, Valoran? What's happening here? The aliens' colors darkened. We call them the Voidborn. They arrive without warning, consume the energies that sustain worlds, then move on. This is our third colony they have attacked. The first two are now dead stones. A proximity alarm blared. Captain, 3 enemy vessels breaking off to engage us. Elena straightened, pulling her gaze away from the desperate alien's face. Battle stations, targeting solutions on the approaching vessels. Lieutenant Park, get me everything you can on their shield configurations. Shields. Captain, I'm not detecting any conventional shielding. But these readings, it's as if they're partially phased between dimensions. Elena's mind raced through tactical scenarios. Earth's ships were advanced by human standards, but distinctly middle-tier in galactic terms. They didn't have the centuries of development that the elder races boasted, but what they did have was innovation born from desperation. Technology developed during humanity's darkest hours. Deploy the graviton mines. Pattern Epsilon. Let's see how these Voidborn handle being locked into a single-dimensional state. The Dauntless shuddered as it released a field of seemingly invisible weapons, Earth's answer to phase-shifting warfare, developed after their first disastrous contact with non-corporeal entities a decade earlier. The effect was immediate. As the mines detonated, the approaching Voidborn ships distorted, their forms snapping fully into normal space like rubber bands stretched beyond their limits. Their ghostly evasiveness vanished, leaving solid targets for the human weapons. They're vulnerable. All ships, concentrate fire. Human rail cannons and plasma lances struck true, puncturing the suddenly substantial hulls of the alien vessels. But the victory was short-lived. The wounded ships emitted piercing signals that rippled through subspace, and across the battlefield, the remaining Voidborn vessels turned as one toward the human fleet. They're communicating. Science Officer Chen reported, his voice tight. And I think we just became their primary target. The next wave came not in threes but in dozens, a dark tide surging away from the beleaguered planet toward the 7 Earth ships. Energy readings spiked as the Voidborn charged weapons unlike anything in human experience. Evasive maneuvers, Elena ordered, gripping her command chair as the Dauntless banked sharply. All ships, deploy countermeasures and fall back to formation beta. The bridge rocked as the first shots struck home, bypassing shields to bite directly into the Dauntless's hull. Warning lights flashed across every station. They're targeting our energy systems, Chief Engineer Kaleni reported from engineering. Whatever those weapons are, they're draining our reactors directly. 3 more hits like that, and we're dead in space. Elena's mind raced. They were outmatched, outgunned, facing an enemy that could tear through their defenses like paper. But they had come to help, and retreat now meant consigning the Ardari to extinction. Focus all power on forward shields and weapons. Ignore the flanking vessels. Target their command ship. She opened a channel to the fleet. All ships, this is Captain Reyes. We didn't come this far to back down. Form up on the Dauntless. We're going to punch straight through their line. The human vessels tightened formation, combining their firepower into a spear aimed at the heart of the Voidborn fleet. It was reckless, perhaps suicidal, but it was also distinctly human, refusing to accept no-win scenarios, finding impossible paths through determination alone. Fire everything we've got. Now. The combined might of 7 Earth vessels lashed out, their synchronized attack creating a momentary corridor through the Voidborn formation. The Dauntless surged forward, engines straining, directly toward the largest enemy vessel. "Captain," Communications Officer Rivera called out, "I'm detecting transmission attempts from the Ardari surface. They're trying to send us something. Technical data, I think, but it's fragmented. Clean it up. Whatever they're sending might be our only chance to understand what we're fighting." As the Dauntless closed with the Voidborn command ship, the data from the Ardari began resolving on their screens: schematics, energy signatures, and what appeared to be historical records. Images flashed of worlds drained of life, turned to barren husks by the same obsidian vessels they now faced. They're not just attacking, Science Officer Chen realized, studying the data with growing horror. They're harvesting. These Voidborn, they convert living worlds into fuel for their ships and themselves. They're planet eaters. Elena processed this information as her ship shuddered under another attack. 3 of the 7 human vessels were already reporting critical damage. "How do you kill something that eats planets?" Lieutenant Park muttered. Elena's eyes narrowed as she spotted something in the Ardari data, a vulnerability, perhaps, or at least a theory. The Voidborn fed on energy, specifically the complex electromagnetic fields generated by living planets. They consumed it, processed it, became stronger from it. But what happens when you feed something too much, too fast? "Chief Kalani," she called to engineering, "can you reconfigure our reactor to generate an electromagnetic pulse large enough to engulf that command ship? I want to overload them." "That would drain nearly all our power, Captain. We'd be defenseless." "Do it anyway. And Kalani, make it as dirty as possible. I want that pulse to be the equivalent of force-feeding them until they burst." As engineers raced to reconfigure the Dauntless's systems, Elena opened a channel to the Ardari. "Valoran, we need your help. Can your planet's defense system generate a massive electromagnetic surge on our command?" The alien's colors pulsed with determination. "Yes, Captain. What remains of our planetary shield network can be recalibrated. What are you planning?" "Something very human," Elena replied grimly. "We're going to give these Voidborn exactly what they want, until it kills them." The plan came together in minutes, a desperate gambit born from humanity's unique perspective. While ancient races had fought the Voidborn with sophisticated weapons developed over centuries, humans would try something far more primitive: overfeeding the predator. "All ships, fall back to minimum safe distance," Elena ordered. "Dauntless will deliver the package alone." Her vessel, already damaged and leaking atmosphere from multiple hull breaches, accelerated toward the massive Voidborn command ship. At her signal, the Ardari activated their planetary defenses, not as shields, but as a concentrated beam of raw electromagnetic energy aimed directly at the human ship. "Reactor reconfigured, Captain," Chief Kalani reported. "We're ready to become the biggest electromagnetic bomb this sector has ever seen." Elena nodded, her expression set. "Take us in close. On my mark, dump everything we have into that pulse." The Dauntless screamed toward the Voidborn command ship, drawing fire from all sides as the enemy realized something was happening. Hull integrity dropped to critical levels. Life support failed on 3 decks, but still the human vessel pressed forward. Now, the Dauntless's reactor erupted with unconstrained power, catching and amplifying the Ardari energy beam. For a brief, terrible moment, the human ship glowed brighter than the system's sun, a miniature star born of desperation and ingenuity. The electromagnetic pulse that followed was unlike anything ever witnessed in that sector of space. It struck the Voidborn command ship like a hammer hitting glass. The vessel, evolved to consume and process energy gradually, suddenly found itself drowning in it. Its systems, designed to absorb, could not withstand being force-fed. The ship's obsidian surface cracked, light pouring from within as the excess energy tore through its internal structure. Then it exploded, the shockwave rippling outward to strike the smaller Voidborn vessels. Some detonated immediately, others spun away, their systems overloaded and failing. Aboard the Dauntless, Alina pulled herself from the floor where the final pulse had thrown her. Emergency lighting cast the bridge in red shadows, and damage reports flooded in from every section. "Status report," she coughed, wiping blood from a cut above her eye. "We're alive, Captain," Lieutenant Commander Okafor answered in disbelief. "Barely. Main power is offline, weapons systems destroyed, and we have hull breaches on decks 5 through 8. But we're alive." Alina limped to the viewport, where the remains of the Voidborn fleet drifted in disarray. Some were retreating, fleeing into the darkness of space. Others floated dead, their energy-consuming systems burned out by the massive overload. And the Ardari. Their planet took damage from the pulse, but their core defenses held. They're sending thanks, Captain, in every language they know." Alina nodded, allowing herself a small smile as medical teams rushed onto the bridge to treat the wounded. "Tell them they're welcome. And inform the Galactic Council that humanity has just made first contact with the Ardari people. We look forward to introducing them to the galactic community." As the Dauntless limped back toward the planet it had saved, Alina knew there would be diplomatic consequences. Rules had been broken, boundaries crossed. But a world that would have died had been saved instead, and that was worth whatever reprimand awaited her return. In the vastness of space, a signal went out, not a cry for help this time, but a message of thanks. And somewhere in the darkness beyond, the remaining Voidborn carried with them a new understanding. Earth had answered the call, and where humans went, fire followed.